Go, 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 let's get it. I'm a trapping fanatic, that shit automatic, so I cannot turn it on or off. Bitches all on my dick, then she hop on my dick, I'm like, why you keep hopping on and off? Your bitch all on my dick, she be doing the most, I tell her, little bitch, you so extra. And my gun up on me, but not run up on me, niggas, they wanna fight, they some wrestlers.
We already know that the Itoshi brothers are born prodigies, and there is no denying it. So what would happen if we just threw Isagi into that insane family lineage? What if Isagi was in fact Itoshi Sagi, meaning that he would be the third and the youngest brother from the Itoshi family, as in an early life, Rin and Sei were already so far ahead of him in terms of skill and raw talent. But with that, Isagi noticed he was able to learn their techniques easily, with only little practice. He began spending hours a day training, knowing that one day he could play with his elder brothers, as that's all he really wanted. This version of Isagi bounced around in positions, as he could truly play anything, but he ended up being more of a winger who could use both feet with ease. After one of his matches, his eldest brother Sei came up to him, stating that he's going to play striker from now on, as all three of them will work together to one day win a World Cup as brothers. Isagi nodded, as he always listened to Sei no matter what he said. Rin always thought this was weird, the bond between them. It was almost like master and slave. But he didn't care, as the two older brothers were even closer. But with Isagi and Rin, it always felt different, like he wanted to prove something to Rin. Once Isagi switched positions, his club, they began winning more games. But this is when Sei noticed that Isagi was an incredible striker, who was actually very selfish. He wasn't like them at all. Isagi played, and he did so alone, going ahead and making a path to goal on his own and ripping shots. Even when he'd miss, he'd look up and see what he did wrong. Isagi noted that he didn't want to pass to anyone but his brothers, and he played like an egoist. Up until 1 year, where he'd get to play with his older brothers, both of them actually. He would be 13, as Rin would be a year older and Sei would be 2 years older, as this would be their only time to play for each other, or play with each other for a season, because Sei was going off to Spain after this, and Rin was transferring to a different club. Isagi wouldn't be a starter, but in the beginning, once being subbed in, he played the attacking midfielder position, who distributed passes to his brothers. All season, they could tell how strong that he's gotten. His passes were pinpoint, but not only that, each pass was tailored for them separately. Once this season had ended, well, the eldest left, promising to return stronger. And when he did though, he seemed almost dead inside, as instead, he tried to crush their dreams as a striker and told them to fight for their dreams against him. Whichever one of them could steal the ball could continue to play that position. And Isagi nodded, and Rin rushed in blindly, letting his emotions guide him. Isagi then vanished into the shadows waiting for the right moment. When Sei finally destroyed Rin, Isagi appeared from his blind side, stealing the ball and shooting it as his instincts were on full display. Rin and Sei stood silently, as Sei congratulated Isagi. It seemed he was the one destined to be the striker out of the three of them, meaning that it would be better if Rin had just turned into a defender or a winger due to his destroyer-like nature. The eldest then left them there, and Isagi went to help Rin up, but he slapped his hand away. "Get away from me, you freak. You ruined everything from that day." "What are you talking about? What day?" "Everything changed the day you were born. So stay the hell away from me until I crush you and prove to our brother that I can win a World Cup alone. I don't need him either." From this point on, the two grew apart, while Rin despised Isagi for beating him. Isagi felt more alone than ever, but as he looked to the ground, he had realized that football would take away that feeling. So now he only focused on that. It became a part of his personality, as something he would always do and think about. Isagi continued to grow up, and then we see him in his junior high championship game. With his team being down 1 goal, they needed 1 more to score, but the clock was winding down, and it would be much more difficult to get it, as the defenders were on high alert. He runs down the field with the ball, dribbling around defenders, making his way to half field before passing it and then receiving the ball once again. Now he just had one more defender in his way. Instead of hitting his open teammate, Isagi flicks the ball over their heads, opening up himself for a shot as he sends it into the back of the net, tying the game and wiping off his face. His eyes seem to have that awakened pattern while looking on with curiosity. He doesn't know what was causing this, but he loved this feeling more than anything. It's one he has grown very accustomed to, as his selfish plays and his ego has led him to this awakened state many times. Isagi had smiled at the realization and then destroyed his opponents in the extra minutes rewarded to them for tying the game and making a name for himself in his city. The after effect of this would be that he would be invited to Blue Lock. With Isagi not knowing what this meant, he decided to join. He listens to Ego's speech about Japan needing a true savior, and then the words of his eldest brother would ring through his mind. So it's where it's all gonna lead him. The key to once again playing with him. Blue Lock is all I need now. Isagi then headed in with many others, as none would question this. The team that Isagi would be placed on is Team X with Shohei Baru, as after their elimination tag game with the remaining players, they try to train together, as it's eventually clear that Isagi and Baru are the top dogs here, with each one of them competing for the starting striker position. And I'll say at this point, Isagi is more skilled than Baru, but the King's sheer size on him gives him an advantage on 1v1s. So, for the purpose of this, let's have Baru start as striker and Isagi at the cam position. Their first match is against Team Z, where I think Isagi would just shine, as he would take the ball from Baru and score in everyone's confusion. Baru of course hated this, but Isagi knew what he needed to do. Many wondered who this young player was, but Isagi remained silent. Is this what you envisioned for me, brother? A world where I'd stand out alone. Isagi and Baru trade goals going back and forth until the score was 6-0, with both having a hat trick, and some wonder goals throughout this match. This Isagi and Baru kind of duo is like Kaiser and Isagi in canon, with them constantly competing with their evolution throughout the match, as it keeps going throughout the first selection, far outclassing anyone, as I do think they would even beat Nagi and Ryo. This is where I think Baru might have a similar evolution to when he was forced to pass to Isagi and Nagi, but now that would happen in the first selection, which would make him even stronger as the story would go on. And then, once it was over, Ego revealed all the teams to each other, as from across the room, Isagi would see Rin standing there and walks towards him. As Rin sits down, a ball was passed to him, and then Isagi was seen running right at him as he would try to steal it. The two would go back and forth in a short clash until Isagi snatches the ball beneath his feet and spins around Rin. What the hell are you doing here, Isagi? Nothing. I just thought I'd make myself known to you. You spoiled brat. Isagi then turns back to Rin. Right now, I'd say we're tied. But the next time I truly play you, we'll decide who's the victor. But I think this is good for you to hear. Whoever comes out on top as the best is who our brother gets to play with. Rin scoffs, but Isagi is the first to enter the goal test, and with the hologram appearing and the ball shooting out from the wall, Isagi traps it and sends it into the back of the net. Simple enough, huh? This test obviously isn't hard for Isagi, as he knows many shooting techniques as well as type of shots that he can do at this point. Really, all it does is allow his mind not to focus on looking at the ball, but striking it at the perfect time and reacting. Each time it comes out of the wall, the pass is so pinpoint it reminds him of his eldest brother, and that feeling he was getting awakened him once again. So as he exited, Ego and Anri both wondered how he was able to level up like that, as Ego concluded that Isagi must have a drive like no other, and it seems Blue Lock has lit an eternal flame within him that cannot be put out. Itoshi Sagi, the youngest of the three brothers. Well, you sure are interesting to say the least. With the next selection now happening, Isagi waits and forms a team of 3. As I said, this team might be a little different, as it actually might be Hiyori and let's just say Karasu for even more chemistry. And with this team of 3, I think they'd play a lot of the other teams, and Isagi dominates in these matches, scoring every goal as he continuously evolves, eventually getting to the point where he does super goals that are so unorthodox, shifting from long range to making shots while being triple teamed, dribbling in unnecessary positions to make it challenging for himself, and many more things that would lead his team to a match against the World 5, where Isagi gets a reality check from Luna. These two go to head, with Luna mentioning both of his brothers and how he's not expecting much from the youngest. But what's shocking to him is that Isagi goes on to score after this, as he does the perfect move to get by Luna and Silva, looking up for the shot, but Adam Blake was in the way. Isagi uses his brother's signature curving shot to get it around him and into the back of the net. With it going in, Isagi claims that he's a lot different from both of his brothers, as this is when a short span of metavision would appear. It's something that he had up his sleeve for a while, but he just doesn't have a name for it yet. But with this ability still being at its very early stages, he's only able to get 2 goals with it here. And still, that's insanely impressive considering who he's going up against. And with that defeat being his first in Blue Lock, Isagi sat down thinking of the world-class players, wondering if this is who his brother goes against, or if he's on their level. No wonder he's able to play like that. Then I guess it's my turn to reach that level. Stepping out, Ego would explain luck to them, with Isagi noting he needs to master it if he wants to become the best, and allow luck to always fall upon himself. As now the stage will be set for the next big event in the story, which will be the U20 match. So during the preparation stages for it, Isagi is on his own team with Rin, and these two can't work together at all and have no chemistry, with Rin not really allowing Isagi to get off his own shots through passes, as a few of Isagi's goals actually come from his metavision in short bursts combined with his individual plays that he would make. And because of this, throughout each match, Isagi continues to play his own, going against everyone and lashing out during matches to score his own goals by stealing others. And because of this, well, Ego decides he'd be better off for the U20 team, kind of as a double-edged sword, with Isagi being seen as Shido. So, Isagi has a meeting with his new team, where he walks in, seeing his eldest brother, as the two make eye contact, with Sei even cracking a smile. "Well, Captain, it seems your savior is here." "Isagi, were you such a brat in there that they sent you back to me?" Sei walks up, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Don't disappoint me here." Isagi gets chills up his spine and follows his brother out of the room. The days they spend training together, well, they were nothing like this, as Isagi grows an insane amount, as even with metavision, he trains to use it for the entire match. Thanks to the chemistry that these two have, he becomes even deadlier as a striker. And match day of course arrives, and I will say that Isagi isn't starting because the coach still believes in his current striker for the U20 team. So the match starts with Blue Lock winning going into the half, as now, with them losing, Isagi is called upon to save the match, with a lot of their teammates actually doubting him. "Why don't you all just sit back and let him finish this match? It's clear that you all can't." Sei then walks forward with his younger brother following him. Entering the grand stage, these two would greet the middle brother. "Yo, Rin, I think we left off not deciding who is truly stronger." And Rin would scoff, remembering what happened the last time their club match would go against each other. That he won, but Isagi beat him in a 1v1 when their brother had returned. So now, it was time to decide who was truly the striker in the family. Isagi, now with the ball at his feet, makes his attack but surprises everyone, even Rin, by passing it up. Rin calls him a fool and a coward, but Isagi smirks and then blows by Rin with speed that he didn't even know he had. Isagi then traps a ball from another pass and eventually scores, tying the game, while also claiming that they don't have time to play around. And throughout the rest of this match, Isagi makes it clear to everyone in Blue Lock and Rin that they made a mistake. Isagi was the striker they needed to win this match, even causing Rin to enter flow. Isagi would also enter his own for the first time. Here, it would be more of a creation-like flow, with his signature, puzzle-like pieces around him, and with Rin being a berserk destroyer, Isagi was almost a calm creator, moving around the pitch and creating more goals and opportunities wherever he went, leading to the U20 victory and a hat trick for himself. When Ego was questioned about the loss, he exclaimed to the press that they won since it was a member from Blue Lock that carried the U20 Japan team, and with that, Japan knew what was coming next since they did so many numbers with this short match. The Neo Egoist League. But before that, there would be a short period of time where everyone would get a break, and Sei would claim that he was returning to Spain, but he'd actually extend the invitation to his youngest brother, believing he could also get a contract at La Real. But Isagi declines, saying that there's much more in Blue Lock that he needs to understand if he wants to become the very best. And his brother would understand that, as now when Isagi returns, he doesn't know how to actually choose who he'll go for. But because his brother already plays for Spain, he decides he'll follow in a similar path of creation, doing that as well, as we could have him go to his original canon team, but I really don't like doing that. With my stories, I kind of like for them to stray away from what's canon. So, with Isagi walking into the Spanish wing, he's greeted by his mentor, who claimed that he wouldn't teach any of them football at all. Instead, it was up to them to create new methods and processes to become their own number one. Isagi took this as a freedom he'd been longing for, a place where he could develop any skill or move to its absolute best with no restrictions. And for the days leading up to their very first match, Isagi's training goes to a brand new intensity, learning skills that he believes will make him an even deadlier striker. Isagi keeps growing, and it's actually shocking to those around him, like Anri, Ego, even Levinho didn't expect this development to go this well, especially since he was a master who didn't really focus on training his players, only scrimmaging with them, as their first match will be up against Germany, with Michael Kaiser as their main striker. Isagi meets him in the center of the pitch, where he states that Itoshi Sagi is his brother, but he doesn't believe Isagi is exceptional like him. Isagi could only nod as the match soon began, with him passing the ball and activating Metavision, stating that it was now or never. He continues to use it alongside an awakened state, as Isagi uses off-ball movement, another technique, to fully divert the attention off of himself, as out of nowhere, Otoya would send the ball in the air where no one would be, but then suddenly, Isagi appeared there with a burst of speed, and Ness turning around, wondering how he got there, but there was no time to think, as he was now one-on-one with Germany's defenders. Levinho sits up, stating to Noel Noah that his young players stand no chance now. Isagi has entered his own domain. Through Levinho's eyes, Isagi was seen as a jaguar in the jungle, scoping out his prey, as that would be the keeper and the goal, with him then ripping through the defenders and scoring the first goal with a kill shot. And I do believe Isagi's Metavision would have been upgraded in this story to have the implications of the Predator Eye, making him an even scarier shooter. Still, I think Kaiser would gain the next two goals, making it so that Levinho would sub in, scoring one for himself, as now it would be a battle for the final goal. With Germany having the better defenders, I do believe another Kaiser impact would happen, leading to the defeat of Spain. But Isagi stands tall, as he would be standing still, realizing the difference was in the technique of shooting. Kaiser is able to pull off his own shots from almost anywhere, whereas Isagi mainly focuses on the power and curve of his shot. But now, he needed something even more extraordinary if he wanted to become a world-class player like his brother. Since they actually have a lot of spare time before another match, Isagi develops more weapons to add to his arsenal, taking on his master in multiple 1v1s to improve them through intense situations, as this does yield the results he wants. So for their next match, they would play the Ubers, where Baru was now showing off his dominance with an opening goal. As for Batra, Isagi and Batra become an insane dribbling duo that would run down the field with the Otoya as their backup, and when Lorenzo and Aiku try to mark the two, Isagi runs right on the opposite side of the field, which was furthest from the goal. Lorenzo following him would then smile. "You fell for it." Isagi then burst it with speed, cutting it into the box and received the pass on his chest that he would then volley into the net while not even looking at the keeper. Instead, he was focused on the 3 defenders around him. Now, it was tied, but the Uber's defense would make it a challenge for Spain. And since their attackers were only 3, I think Batra would be shut down by Aiku constantly, leaving it up to Isagi to score. But luckily, he shows off a new shot technique that he's able to use on his outside foot to curve the ball to the outside of the keeper, where he would dive in a different direction. As this match would of course come down to a final goal, with Baru going in on his rampage, he'd likely be stopped, as luckily Otoya would deflect his shot and the ball would be going up towards Isagi, and Lorenzo had appeared, stating that he won't even let him get by the half-field mark, and Isagi looks up dribbling one way and completely demolishing Lorenzo for just a second, which was all he needed, as a zombie defender would recover, but he was now a step behind. Not so fast. Isagi then changes his pace to accelerate, dropping the ball off to a teammate where he would run ahead, as now it's sent in the air and Ryu jumps for it, but it goes over his head even. This is when Batra appears once again to try and shoot, but it's deflected, as now everyone scrambles for the loose ball, but this is when Isagi would claim victory for Spain, as he would score off of it, and it would be Ego's luck on advice that had rang through his mind when taking this shot, and with this hat-trick under his belt, as well as his rank would climb very highly, and it would be a game-winning shot to add on, as his contract or his ranking would go even higher. As for their final match, I do think that Isagi would lose against PXG, not because he couldn't score, but because I believe PXG would outscore them completely. But it would be more of Shido than Rin, but Isagi still scored 2 goals. I just don't think that even with this Isagi, PXG could be defeated. But this is where our story would end. If you do enjoy Blue Lock content and want to see more of it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, or like this video and share it to a friend. This is Zero, and I'll catch you all on the next one.